Hi, welcome to StoryHive On Location in Kelowna, with support by TELUS STORYHIVE. Today we're sitting with Ryan Scarpino, an incredibly talented tattoo artist, in his shop, and we're going to dive into him doing an amazing piece. I would shake your hand, but you're all ready to go, and I'm excited for this. So let's start off with where you're from and how you got into tattooing.
Well, I grew up in Nanaimo, British Columbia, and I moved to Surrey, Vancouver area when I was a teenager. I've been painting graffiti since I was pretty young, about 12 years old. I started doing tattoos when I was about 26, is when I first started tattooing, but I'd been getting tattooed since I was 18, and I actually did my first tattoo when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I was hanging out in Port Alberni with a couple of kids, and one of the older brothers made a tattoo machine out of a Walkman motor, and I was kind of painting graffiti at that time, and he's like, hey, you paint graffiti, you should try tattooing us. And so I did like a couple of tattoos on them and stuff like that. When I was about 26, I went and bought an eBay tattoo machine kit. I started doing a couple little tattoos on my friends here and there, and then I heard of somebody that was looking for an apprentice at their shop called Young Guns Tattoo in Kelowna. I went over there and I kind of showed him my artwork and stuff, and then he asked me if I had any tattoo machines, and I showed him what I had, and he threw them in the garbage because eBay stuff is crap. And then he got me the proper tattoo machines, and then away I went, learned how to tattoo, and then now it's been like almost 20 years, pretty much 20 years.
So as becoming a tattoo artist based off of graffiti and learning how to draw graffiti, what initially got you into drawing in general? Like, what started your creative path?
I've actually always been into art since I was a little kid. Everything from, like, you know, making the porcelain plates and when you're in kindergarten.
Okay, yeah.
You know, all the way up into high school, where basically that was the only class I went to. But, I mean, I just always loved art.
Was there ever an initial thing that as a child that you drew that really inspired you to want to continue?
In grade 8, we had to do self-portraits.
Oh boy.
So like black and gray, so we'd have to like take a picture of ourselves and basically look at it and redraw it again. And I think I killed it at that time, and I loved it. And like that's when I really started to like focus more on shadows and tones and stuff. When I started tattooing, obviously I tried my hand in everything, but then I just kind of started focusing more on black and gray because that's what I really enjoyed doing.
Have you ever worked with color?
Yeah, I've done like quite a few color tattoos for the first like 7 or 8 years of me tattooing.
What was the moment that you realized that black work was what you absolutely loved? Is it based off like classic tattoos and
yeah,
shading?
just some of the pieces that I did, like I felt like I had quicker breakthroughs with like that kind of stuff.
When it comes to transferring the image from your mind and making it almost 3D with the shading, how does that transition happen in your mind from visually seeing something that you have in your head to putting it on skin and making it? Because I'm looking at the stencil, and the stencil doesn't even give detail, like a
well, you got an
idea how detailed the
I mean, a lot of times
drawing.
you have your reference beside you too, so you can see where your shadows and tones are.
Okay.
When you're creating your shadows and tones, obviously you have to trust your values in your gray wash set. So you set out a black, and it goes all the way down to a 20%. So it's a diluted black pigment, and that's what gives me my shadows and tones. And so as long as I use the right shadow and the right tone in the right spot, and I blend them together, then I can get the transition I need to make it look three-dimensional.
Seeing the work that you have online, to see that skill level, like I feel like that's like a skill level that you'd see in giant cities.
When I first started tattooing in Kelowna, there was only about 3 or 4 tattoo studios. Now there's, just on Google counting alone, there's close to 65 of them. And even moving to bigger cities now, tattooing's become a popular thing for a lot of people. They want to try and do it, and a lot of artists realize that tattooing is one of the few ways that you could actually make a good living off of artwork.
I think the one thing that would scare me as an artist going to tattooing is with a canvas you have that ability to just like whitewash it if need be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't put whiteout on the skin.
How do you practice initially to get to the point where you're like, I want to put ink on skin?
Kidding. There's a process that you have to learn. And once you learn the process of tattooing and how to apply it properly from stencil to actual tattooing, and you learn that process and you do it over and over again, like obviously 20 years of me doing this tattooing.
Yeah.
You learn different things about it, and you know, it's something that you could never learn without doing it for a long period of time, even if you learn from some of the best in the industry. A good tattoo artist makes mistakes all the time, but they can, you know, stash it or hide it in the piece without anyone knowing. But it's unfortunate, but that's just the way it goes because we're human and everybody makes mistakes.
What was the biggest challenge in learning how to become a tattoo artist?
Being a tattoo artist is a lot of challenges, you know what I mean? And everything from the art to lifestyle. A lot of guys have fallen victim at a young age from getting into tattooing and making a lot of money, going out partying and stuff like that and throwing their life away. But I don't know, for like art wise, it's just learning the different genres of tattooing, kind of figuring out your niche, what you want to do, and then obviously like maintaining clientele as well is a challenge with tattooing, especially nowadays with how many artists out there offer tattooing. So I definitely have a good clientele, and I'm very appreciative of every single one of them because they definitely keep me going. I feel very grateful that I've been in the same spot for a long time, and I haven't had to really go anywhere and start over again. I did move to Florida for a few years, and it was kind of the process of starting over again, but at least I was able to bring my promotional skills that I learned over the years down there with me and be able to conjure up enough work for myself to stay busy. But now I go down there all the time and tattoo, and I got a work visa down in the United States.
Did you, when you were growing up and being a young graph artist, did you ever think you'd be where you are today?
No. To be honest with you, I went through a lot growing up. From the age of 8 years old till I was 18 in foster care. I lived in different group homes and stuff like that throughout the Vancouver Island and the Lower Mainland. And then got into a lot of trouble when I was younger. Painting graffiti and, you know, stealing spray paint and markers and out partying and doing a lot of drugs when I was younger. I got myself in a lot of trouble up until I was about 26 years old, and then my son, who's 19 now, was born. And that's what kind of like made me think I got to do something with myself. I can't live like this because it's not going to be able to be sustainable to raise a young man. And then that's how I found tattooing. It kind of came at the right opportunity for me. And that didn't change my life. My son pretty much changed my life, but I mean, tattooing gave me the means to change my life.
I feel like this is why I enjoy talking with creatives, is the beauty that they bring to the world through the pain that they've dealt with.
Yeah, tattooing saved a lot of people's lives. I've seen that happen a lot. And I've heard a lot of people's stories. I've done probably anywhere between 200 to 250 tattoo expos around the world. It's crazy because the story is the same for a lot of artists. That saved their life. Mm-hmm. Gave them purpose. Gave them the means to like change their life.
I think that's such a beautiful... I think that's why I love the concept of art and where it takes people. Music is one thing, and that's one thing I can physically understand because I'm a musician, but I'm not creative in any means where it comes to like drawing.
I seen an interview with Scarface from the Ghetto Boys recently, and he was talking about why he doesn't put out new music, because you have to get 1 million streams to make $4,500. They've just basically made it so the artist doesn't make anything anymore, and the companies make all the money.
Yeah.
Unless you're touring.
And touring is so hard on the body.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Being away from your families and your wives and your kids and
just eating crappy. Yeah, it's nice to be able to just like wake up in the morning, have a coffee, go downstairs and tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. I get to spend more time with my children too. I have two little girls who are 2 and 7.
Are they artistic as well?
But yeah, they love drawing. We draw together all the time.
That's one thing I think is most important as an artist, is to inspire another generation.
My 7-year-old daughter comes down here and hangs out when I'm tattooing if she's home.
That's so cool.
I kind of tell her a little bits about things and stuff, and she asks questions. It's kind of cute.
Maybe she'll grow up to be a tattoo artist as well.
Maybe. I let her color in with some of my tattoos that were unfinished on my leg. It was funny. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm doing a tattoo for my dad.
How deep does the needle have to go in?
The needle goes into the epidermis layer of the skin. So not that deep, but just it stays in there right before the capillaries. If you go past the capillaries, they can happen what they call a blowout, where the skin looks like bruised underneath.
You have to basically gauge your entire day's work or your project off of each individual person and the piece. So
Design, skin texture, where on the body it is. There's bloodborne pathogens too, infections, all that kind of stuff that you need to think about when you're tattooing. But when they put those bandages on and it does bubble up and it looks like it's like kind of like liquidy inside, that's actually normal for those bandages to do that.
Oh, is it?
Because that liquid is actually a plasma that your skin leaks out naturally. It's your natural defense.
Healing stuff.
Which has white blood cells in it.
Okay.
Which promote the healing of the tattoo. So if you keep that in there over a couple of days of you having that on, when you finally wash it away, your tattoo's not leaking plasma anymore, and it's already like halfway through the healing process. So it just flakes like a sunburn.
Okay, so it's better to leave that wrap on for a few days.
Yeah, the second skin, you're supposed to keep it on for a couple of days. Right now I'm just kind of doing a light line, and when it heals up, it's not going to be a solid black.
It'll just add a little texture to the shading.
Well, yeah, just so it's super light and you don't really see the outline. And then I can go back after I'm finished doing this part, and then I'll put in my black outline where I want it to be. And then I'll start putting in my shadows and my tones. You know, kind of like on some of these pieces where I'd light line some of this stuff so you don't see the outline, and then I dark line the rest of it. So, traditional Japanese tattooing with Yakuza, the red had toxics in it, toxins in it. So when you got tattooed with red, you actually got really sick. So when you see a Yakuza bodysuit and the guy has a lot of red in it, he went through a lot.
There's so much to the tattoo culture that I don't think is, I think it's kind of overlooked. In other cultures, like Polynesian cultures and Japanese culture, tattoos have been accepted for so long.
Tattoos have been around for a long time. I'm not going to say a number because I might look like an idiot. But I mean, ancient civilizations were doing tattoos on them. And it's crazy now. It's like you look around and it's like you see someone without a tattoo and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
How come that guy doesn't have a tattoo? A long time ago, tattoo shops would always say, hey, like, I don't want the kids there. Like, no kids allowed. And I always loved seeing the kids come into the tattoo shops with the parents when they were doing consultations and stuff like that, because I felt like that was like just instilling the next generation to get tattooed. Because that's what their mom and dad are going to do. So I always welcomed kids coming into the studio with their parents. And it's funny because now, like, even because my son's 19, so I've actually tattooed a few of his buddies that are like 19 and 20 now. And I just remember them all coming over when they were like 14, saying, one day I'm going to get a tattoo from you. And then here we are sitting there tattooing them.
That's so cool.
I tattooed my son.
How was that experience?
It was awesome. He's a good kid. I'm proud of him. He's been working hard.
Is he into tattooing as well?
He's actually an aspiring mechanic.
Oh, cool.
And like building cars and stuff like that.
So he's following the car passion. That's the one thing that I try to focus on a lot in the show, is to teach how it takes you just saying, I want to do it, and not giving up on yourself at all to be successful at whatever you want.
I mean, you can pretty much do anything you want. I mean, the suggestion I have for people is just find what you love. Figure out a way that you can make your life around something that you love or do or love to do and enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're building cars or tattooing or helping people or whatever it is, just figure out what it is, you know, and then just build your life around that.
Over the years of tattooing, what's been one of your biggest accomplishments?
I've won Won a few awards tattooing. I got to travel to so many cool places. I won a few awards, best cover up, best small black and gray, a couple of awards in Jacksonville, Florida at the Jacksonville Tattoo Expo, upstate New York. I've gotten to see so many places. I did a tattoo expo in Indonesia before, and it was cool. That's where I learned a lot of my black and gray tattooing. Was with artist Gedi Shatonk Tattoos in Kuta, Indonesia, in Bali.
Cool.
I spent a few months over there, a couple different times, hanging out and tattooing at his studio. Tattooing is massive over there. All the Australian people come up there and get like full body suits. They'll go and they'll get tattooed by like 3 or 4 artists at the same time.
Oh wow.
Over like 3 or 4 days and come out with like 2 legs done and sleeve and like then go back home, heal, come back and get more done. Like
that's so crazy. As a tattoo artist, how does the experience of dealing with other tattoo artists?
Like tattooing them or like just...
no, like when you're getting tattooed by other tattoo artists.
Well, they bug me all the time because I'm a wimp. I'm surprised I have as many tattoos as I have. I don't know. I just feel like the older I get, the more it hurts, to be honest with you.
That's a common thing I've heard too. What was the most painful tattoo you've had?
The stomach really sucks, and like to be honest with you, the back is probably the worst place. The back is the worst place I've ever been tattooed.
Really?
Yeah. I'd get tattooed on my head and my face all day long compared to like...
Is that why you like doing back tattoos?
Yeah. The last few back pieces have actually been done in collaboration.
Oh, okay. How does that work?
So there's me and my homie Kyle Fresh Ink on Instagram. We do 2 artists, and we book one client, full back in 2 days, back to back. So we do about 12 hours the first day, and then another 8 the next day, and we complete the whole back.
Jeez.
The last guy did 22 hours over 2 days, and we finished his whole entire back piece.
See, that's insane.
My back was sore.
You ever had an apprentice?
I've trained a few people how to tattoo.
So when you're going to become a teacher and you're teaching somebody how to tattoo, how does that process start? Like, how do you get them from going from paper to actual skin?
It depends on their artistic skills, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I've had people that I've trained that weren't the greatest artists, but they learned and then became better artists because they were learning how to tattoo. Then I've had artists that are insane. Like their artwork was just incredible. So like I ideally would have wanted them tattooing as soon as possible.
Is the transition from pen to
Skin.
gun a big challenge to overcome?
Yeah, because it's human skin and everybody's skin is different. Until you've had that experience working on different types of skin, you don't know what to expect. It's all every day you're learning. Even now I still learn because everybody's different.
Knowledge is a very valuable thing.
When I first started tattooing, I wanted to get better, so I started going to tattoo conventions. That's why I started going, and because I would follow around artists that I looked up to, and I'd go to conventions and I'd meet them. I'd introduce myself and I'd hang out with them later on to become good friends with them, but mainly because I wanted to learn how to tattoo. I wanted to learn what they were doing to make their tattoos so good, and not only what they were doing, but how they were taking their pictures, how they were like promoting themselves, like all that kind of stuff. Before old school days, we'd go out to the bar.
And just show off all the tattoos.
Yeah, you'd go out to the bar at a club or whatever, and you'd meet people, oh, Ryan needs a tattoo. I was, oh, you tattoo? Oh, I've been wanting to get a tattoo. Figure I'll take a deposit right in the middle of the bar,
The good old days.
And then, and then you'd book a few weeks ahead of time, and that would be, that's how you'd make your money. And, now I don't go to the bar. I don't drink or anything like that, so I don't go out to the clubs or bars. So now social media is the way to be seen.
And you have a good following on social media. So I had a question that evaded me earlier. When you mentioned you had an award for best cover-up.
Yeah.
Doing cover-ups is a whole other ball game.
So that was a lot when I did color tattoos. And the cover-up tattoo that I won best cover-up for was actually a mermaid sleeve full color.
Oh, wow.
And I don't have a picture of it. It's been so long.
When you're doing cover-ups, did they give you something and they're like, this is what I want? to have covered up, or did they let you have that creative freedom to find something that will work best?
Cover-ups are pretty limited to what you can and can't put over top of them.
Okay.
And so you kind of got, if somebody wants a cover-up, they can give you an idea to work with, but 8 times out of 10, that idea is not going to work for a cover-up. So you kind of got to work and like improvise with maybe their ideas and find something that might work with that cover-up, or kind of convince them that this is what's going to be the best to cover that up.
Okay. Do you prefer thin lines or thick lines when you're doing your outlines?
They all have their place.
Love it. It's a great way to put it.
Unless you just do like traditional style.
Yeah, because traditional's got super thick outlines, right?
And that's pretty much where the black goes. That goes in there with the color, and then it's like super like solid, like not very many tones. Really simplified tattooing. Mm-hmm. But still needs to be done well in order to look good.
I definitely love seeing the emergence of all the new styles of tattooing that have come out in the last 20 years.
When I see old guys with old tattoos like that, like super old, I have to know the story. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, where'd you get it? Who did it?
And they're hard too. If an old guy's got tattoos, you don't mess with them.
A lot of times, they tell you who they got it from, and there's only a handful of tattooers back in the 60s and the 50s and 70s.
Yeah, so you probably either have met them or know their work.
Definitely.
And that's another concept that it is relatively such a young art form, in the sense where it's professional and it's not like that spiritual aspect where you have like tribes doing it, but where it turns into competitions and you have like the Van Goghs of the tattoo world basically living nowadays.
There's a lot of history when it comes to modern day tattooing. And like who the innovators were and what they started and who introduced who to who that got this going, and who was the first ever tattooer in the certain areas. Like in Vancouver, the first tattooer around there was Doc Forbes, and he did American traditional style tattooing on all the sailors at the dock in Vancouver. And then he had guest artists come from other parts of the world, like Japanese tattooer Hiroshi the first come over from Japan and tattooed with Doc Forbes. And then they would mix their Japanese traditional with American traditional and do like a mashup of the two styles.
So when you're looking at the tattoo,
yeah,
I know you have your reference, but do you ever see like different shading points when you put it on the skin?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
I never have to be like, I have to adjust the shading because it just looks so much better on your leg this way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Most of the time, like my references I use from realistic images, and I kind of put them together digitally on my tablet. And I'm just looking for the shapes that I can work with. I'm not like one of those crazy visual artists. You're like, yeah, can you draw me a friggin' detailed cobra snake? And I'm just gonna like draw you a detailed cobra snake. There's guys out there that could do that. Kudos to them. But I'm more of a visual artist where I see things on the skin. I just need the shape. Then I can build it all together.
Do you prefer the shading aspect, or do you prefer getting the initial outlines done first?
I mean, each different styles of black and gray. Like there's the stuff where it's like illustrative and you can do with a lot of line work and stuff, or there's a lot of black and gray where you don't even use line work and you just go in with everything built in with your shader and just build in all your shadows and your tones and build off of them.
And for people who don't know tattooing, when you're shading, you're using a totally different set of needles, right?
Yeah.
You're using ones with like 4 or 5 prongs.
This one here is a 9-round liner that I'm using, which is, putting in blacker to thicker outlines. And then it goes up from there. And then I use, for shading, I use what they call a 15 curved mag. So it's kind of like got like a
slight bevel to it.
Like a slight bevel from side to side. And it has, 15 needles stacked together. And that way, when I do my shading, it gives me a little bit of a soft edge and like a few different angles that I could work with.
And you can like feather things out a little.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd have to say my favorite aspect of getting tattooed is getting the colors put in. That grinding.
Start seeing that pop.
And more or less just the feeling of the initial, once it starts going through, the circles are going.
Oh yeah.
And you're filling in the color. It just, you go numb and you kind of just zone out.
And it goes away.
And it just goes away. Do you prefer being private versus owning a studio? Or like, well, I guess you own a studio still, but.
It was a big transition for me because having a studio was my social life for 15 years.
I was going to ask, yeah, is it a little less hectic now? And more
The
personal?
first few months of not being in a studio was really strange to me. And so it took a lot of adjustment. I actually kind of felt a little bit depressed there for a little while just because it was my life for so long. But then, you know, I just obviously got to start spending more time at home with my kids and like going and traveling and stuff. So now it's starting to get used to it because now when I want to be in a shop environment, I'll just go for a week-long guest spot somewhere. Wherever I feel like traveling to, you know, and still make money.
Do you just call up a shop and are like, hey, do you want to guest artist for a couple weeks?
I've met a lot of people in this industry, so I know a lot of people all over the place.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Fair enough.
My tattoos obviously aren't, you know, bad, so.
No, they speak for themselves. You're definitely skilled.
You know, if I reach out to a shop and I want to work with them, usually they welcome me with open arms.
If you were to give any advice to an aspiring tattoo artist to start their career, how do you get into drawing to a level where you could comfortably feel like I want to put that on skin? And second of all, how can they transition from being an at-home artist into jumping into a career as a tattoo artist?
Working on your art portfolio is very important. Do not go to tattoo school. Tattoo school in this industry is big and taboo, and if you ever want to get a job somewhere else, no accredited shop would ever hire anybody that went to tattoo school. The best and only way to learn how to tattoo is to find an artist that's already established themselves, that has a studio, that's good at what they do, maybe in the style that you want to learn how to tattoo, and take an apprenticeship. An apprenticeship usually is about 2 years long. And at first you're going to be washing floors and cleaning bathrooms and learning about the studio and how it works, how to order supplies, what supplies are, and then working on your artwork, and then eventually learning how to tattoo. But if you have a strong portfolio together and you go to a tattoo studio and you want to learn how to tattoo, you're more than likely to be tattooing sooner than you would if you didn't and you just went in there, if they even give you a job. There's so many ways you could do it, but like the right way is the apprenticeship. As far as like tattoo school wise, like a lot of like, there's like, I see posts all the time of like owners of shop being like, if you come here and you tell me that you went to tattoo school, you're not getting a job.
I think it's because it's something you
Roll
can't
this way for me.
It's kind of like music, right? You can't be taught how to do it in a classroom. You can be taught theory all you want, but unless you're physically doing it, you're never going to fully learn the concepts. It's so inspiring to see artists make it to a level where like you get to be from home, and raise your family, and do the thing you love, and that's the whole thing I want to inspire the next generation to do.
It's hard not to take it for granted sometimes, you know. But sometimes I'm driving around and I'm in my Cadillac, or I'm driving, you know, on a road trip, taking my family somewhere cool. And I just sit there and I think to myself how lucky I am to be able to do what I do for a living and be able to provide for my family and have the life that I have and own the things that I have and meet the people that I get to meet, from clients to other artists and stuff like that. It's just, and go the places I go. It's crazy. It's a blessing.
If you work hard for it, you could start off and have nothing and still make it to be a rock star. You're mentioning that your vision, your nearsighted vision was going, and now I can understand, because I didn't put two and two together, trying to focus on where the needle is. You have to look it has to be so close.
You look right at the end of it.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until just this moment when I'm watching you do those swirls.
Apparently, like with your neck, or your head over your neck, it's about 10 pounds of pressure for every, you know, inch or a couple inches your head's out from your neck like this.
Yeah.
So if I'm like, 6 inches, I'm holding like 30 pounds with my neck all day long.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that too.
Give this guy a little squirt with some Bactine and let him have a break for a sec.
Yeah, and then I can wrap up. We did an hour.
Crazy.
Yeah, and quick interview. It's nice to see
I'll take some pictures of it.
It's so cool to see the process from stencil line work in such a quick amount of time too. It's mind-blowing.
Where's my back team?
That's the worst part, I think. The outlining.
Yeah. I was just saying earlier, I enjoy the actual shading aspect.
That's my favorite too.
It's like that grinding feels good versus like the on and off of the needle going in spots that haven't been touched.
I feel paid more when it's that fine line, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the little prick they call that one, the 3-round liner that I had out.
Good, Ryan?
Yeah, you can jump off here. Let's go
Yeah,
off.
you're good.
Here.
Well, Ryan, I want to thank you again. That was mind-blowing getting to watch you put such a beautiful piece onto somebody and get to embrace the story of your history and your skills and
Yeah, thanks for
your
coming
lifestyle. I
by.
appreciate it so much.
Appreciate it too.
Is there a place where these guys can find you?
Instagram at tattoos by news spelled with a Z, kind of like that there if you can read it. Some graffiti stuff.
It is a wicked.
Yeah, you'll see all my tattoos and my Cadillacs and all the car shows and stuff like that I like to attend to and conventions, and see where I might be tattooing next.
Yeah, I might have to come back one day and go over some cars with you, because
Yeah.
that's a whole other hobby and skill that I'd love to dive into, is restoration of old vehicles.
Yeah, that's
Because
awesome.
it's not, it's a dying skill.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I'd love to do that with you. That'd be great.
Well, one, thank you again for your time and your story. If you guys would like to be a guest on the show, there will be a QR code somewhere at the bottom of the screen that you can scan, and it'll send you to a form that you fill out, and you can join the show, and I will interview you. And once again, I'm Robb O'Day. This has been Story Hive on Location Kelowna, and we'll catch you next time.
Ciao.